Hi everyone, good to see you, both you that I see in front of me and everyone who are following us live on Facebook. My name is Daniel Byström, and together with me you see the group of wonderful people from all over the world. So we will today make the first ever Our Future talk. It's a world premiere from Austurland. And I don't know, maybe Ásta, Kristín, you would like to say something about this?
Yeah, well, we are in a place in our lives that everyone can relate to now. We know where we are coming from, but we don't know what the future will hold. And this group has been talking a lot about all of this pandemic and what we have been struggling with regarding tourism and regarding localhood, regarding humanity and so many other things. Destination building, how can we use this time now to fast forward into a better future, using tourism more as a tool than not only as a business, but how can we build up better communities and better businesses when we start again. And we started to talk about this concept out from Restart Tourism, and that developed more into how do we want to design our futures. And Austurland is the first place we sit down and talk about the future with the local people in Austurland. So this is a great opportunity for everyone, but not only in Austurland. I mean, we have places all over the world that is similar and has similar problems or needs more results to what the future is holding. So it's great to start with Austurland. It is special to me for obvious reasons, but I think that people can learn a lot from each other, learn a lot from what Austurland has been doing, and people all over Iceland and people all over the world could for sure learn from the process and also learn from each other and chip in their own ways of doing things. So yeah, I think that is pretty much the beginning of this, and just thank you to all this great group to be willing to be together and share your thoughts and yeah, your future plannings in this. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Ásta. So I will, together with María, my colleague, that you see also on screen, we will first make a presentation about Austurland. And the reason why I also will be doing that together with María is because I've been working with Austurland since almost, I mean, I was there first time in 2011. And since then I have just kept coming back. Of course, now during this situation, it is a bit hard to travel and so. But normally at this time of the year, we used to have a fall meeting where we come together with the companies and locals and talk about how is the situation around, you know, Austurland and the development around tourism and things like that. And when we couldn't do that, we felt like, wow, we just need to do something, but it's also kind of an opportunity to bring more people from all over the world, since we can do this like a digital meeting. And that is just very exciting for both us and I think for many of you in Austurland as well. And it's also exciting to have people that I know are participating from Argentina, from Africa, from all around the world that is also with us here today. So this is our first Our Future talk, and then we will come back to other places all around the world later, hopefully. We know that we have some places already, so it's really, really exciting. But María, maybe you should say hi before I just flip the screen so they will not see anymore.
Yes. Welcome to this great meeting, online meeting. I'm loving the online meeting things that is going on now all the time. I need to love it. It's just the way it is. I have been working with Daniel since 2014 on this project of the Austurland, Destination Austurland, and it's an honor to be here with all of the people that are watching. And I am working with Österbro, and I'm a project manager here. So working a lot with destination development and as well just community development and so. So it's very exciting, and I'm ready to start.
Great. So now we will just make a really speedy presentation. We are famous for our,
Speedy.
big, long presentations with a lot of images. So just hold yourself and then just enjoy the show. And then we will come back to questions. Austurland, we talk about think outside the circle when we think about Austurland. Austurland is situated here on the east side of Iceland, the furthest away from Reykjavik that you can come, but it's also in the middle of the world for everyone who live in Austurland, of course. And it's also a connection point because you also can take the boat to Denmark and to Faroe Islands from there. Austurland is 15,000 square kilometers on the east side of Iceland. Holds about 10,500 people, or what is it?
10,700, I think now.
Oh, wow,
we are
big
multiplying here in the third stage of COVID. So it's growing. It's good.
Yeah. Austurland is a hiking paradise. It's fantastic sceneries. The nature is just breathtaking. There is a lot of culture and creativity in Austurland. We're famous for the summer festivals, especially, but also other festivals and happenings all around the year. We have vibrant communities. Here you see a picture from, where is it, Seyðisfjörður?
Seyðisfjörður, yeah. At the Pride, and you see this beautiful community of only 700 or 800 people, where the ferry comes from Denmark, and it's a very vibrant, and it's the culture mecca of Iceland, I would have to say, in my opinion.
And the museums, we have, of course, the Vatnajökull, one of the gates to Vatnajökull in Austurland.
The national park. Yeah.
The national park. And then we have also new, what do you say?
Nature baths.
Yeah, this is from Bök baths in East Iceland. So we have a lot of things to offer in Austurland. And the destination of Austurland, it all started really, of course, the destination have kind of always been there, but it has, we started in 2014, end of 2014, we started an initiative that we call the Destination Austurland initiative. And then me, together with Ferðamálasamtök Austurlands, a cluster of companies in Austurland, we came together and said that we should start this process together with Österbro, the regional developmental office organization, yes, that María is working for. And then we started the process that we said it should take about 3 years to come to the place where we wanted to feel that we have started kind of a destination. So we wanted to do something really thoroughly and wanted to do it together with people and companies. We used a methodology that I have been working with many times before, both in Sweden and in other places. We call it destination design, and kind of you can compare it about kind of like telling a good story. So first of all, when you come to a place, you just need to understand the story, and let's understand what should we tell. And what are the story that we kind of like not only creating, but just try to emphasize on that is just enlighten what is already there, and then become better in telling the story, and then get it to bring it to life.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing process. It should never stop. So it's an ongoing movement, and even though the 3 years were a project description of 3 years, we still always look this as a future movement. So this is what we are working on every day and trying to improve and reach out more. So,
and we do that through everything, through the activities, to the products, through the architecture, service, hospitality, and food and everything. And it all exists there already, but we can always be better in thinking about what makes this special, what makes it unique, what we have here, and how can we work with that. And we need to do that by working together with the companies and the places all around in Österland, and work with not only the visual sense, but all senses, the taste and the tactile and everything senses. And most of all, the most important part is that we work with the destination by community and also destination for community. And how we are working with a community-driven destination development, where we put the stakeholders at the core of the process. So 2012, this was a little bit before we started the process. I was in Österland. We had a big workshop where we had a workshop around what could we do to develop the region. And this was a workshop around a conference that was called Make It Happen, that attracted a lot of people, not only from Österland, but from all over the world. Imagine that all of you that are listening to this right now were in Österland actually, and joined in this workshop. And that is how it was. And it came a lot of ideas what could be done. And from that, we started this open process, a co-creation process. And it has been a lot
brings back good memories to see this. It's so nice, and people gathering and no one with a mask or anything. It's just
it has been really fantastic.
Yeah.
And I see the engagement, and I think people are getting motivated from each other in this work. Since between all of these meetings, it's always kind of happening something. So it's very, at this time of the year when we used to have this meeting, it is really interesting to see what has happened this year and so. When we started to work with Destination Österland, we made kind of a very thorough benchmarking process. We were looking into other destinations all around the world, not only comparing small destinations as Österland, but also from New Zealand and from Canada and Swedish Lapland, and also connected as much as possible to the national strategies and see how we could fit in the system and the framework of everything. And when we then worked further with the strategies of the 3 years, we were also very careful on how we can package the work that we are doing, because it's kind of like trying to get ownership in this process. It's not only the work of a few, but it should be a work from many. And it's also important to remember that it is different stakeholders, that it is both on the operative level, down on the just digging in the soil, and also the strategic one, that is more the decision makers. They also need to feel ownership. And I think that has been a very successful thing for Österland, how we have been able to get the ownership in many different ways. We started in making a brand platform for Österland that we have used as a filter when we are developing new services and products, and together with companies, see how everyone can develop themselves. And we have talked about who are our guests and tried to understand those, and not only from demographics, like where they are from, but also from the lifestyle of our audiences.
And ourselves. We looked a lot inside and how our lifestyle is and how we are, and we can then match more with that type of a guest and stand up to our promises, and so, and they can be part of our story.
Yeah, and that is a really important point, that you say that we are kind of focusing more on ourselves and more on the residents than the guests in a way, because we think that when we are focusing on the residents and make people enjoy and about the destination where they live, the region and place where they live, they get proud and they tell better stories about the place, and that is how you connect to the place also as a guest. We were talking about the focus areas for Österland, and one of those is of course outdoor activities, with hiking is one of those, but also skiing and other mountaineering and things like that. Is also how we can help our guests and people in Österland to explore the fantastic landscapes better. Like that is also part of making better signs, and so that we should work more with the local food culture. And we have really nice raw ingredients in Österland.
And we're developing many projects within these action points, and we developed a manifesto behind each one with specialists in the area, and as well the hiker and from the hiker club, and so to develop a manifesto and which we have as a guiding light, and so how we work further.
Yeah. And then we were talking about how we are communicating, both in the imagery with photos and video, but also in text and everything, to be more, not try to add something that we aren't, but just be who we are and communicate the real experiences. Mm-hmm. So this is part of that program, and these tools is kind of like part of the results and the outcome that was from that process that has then been living on, and then also companies and people around in Østland are able to use this, no matter if you have a company or if you're just a resident who want to opt in and become the ambassador for the destination. And then Maja, maybe you should say something about the implementation examples.
We're of course as well, and it has been such a great journey because we've documented everything. We've had these tools online. We are always trying to implement them. The first step is that we need to, as a destination, implement them so we can showcase and show others how to do so. We have worked very well with the tourist organizations here and the tour operators and all people working in tourism with travel shows, for example, where we have developed concepts. We have made lifestyle magazines which are coming out every year with stories from the people living here, and so we have as well developed a hospitality course and course about Østland and how we can be good hosts, where we have good examples, and so we are constantly working on getting the brand more on site to be visible on signs and as well on destinations with all types of signage with layers, and we are as well in always encouraging architecture and competitions and so in projects, and we are as well working a lot with municipalities and landowners and so on building up destinations. And one fun thing or a great community thing and project that we started last year, which we will be continuing next year, is Úrbótaganga. It's an improvement walk. It's a method that how the community comes together and can register an improvement in the towns, and then they can plan with the municipality if they want to come in and work on a playground that had something that is not working, and so, and maybe then they can be part of it, and it's as well just a nice tool for the municipalities, and so to show that they are working and doing things to be more out there and visible. So that is it's a good tool to work with the locals and let them know what we are working on.
So that, I mean, all of these are examples, and I mean, this that you saw from Úrbótaganga, the improvement walks, is a perfect example to see how we are all interconnected and how we just need to collaborate and do more together. And how the local community is doing something. It is not only for doing something for building up an image, but it's doing something to make your own place more attractive for yourself. So it's a collaboration. The place brand of Østland is owned by the people, the companies, and the municipalities together. And this connects to this kind of vice model with the visitor industry, community, and environment in this model like this. One thing that I think was really fantastic was 2017 when we were publishing the website for Østland.is.
Yes.
And all the municipalities, all then 8 municipalities, they got the flag with the Østland star, and it was a celebration on the airport yeah. With about 300 people participating, and what you felt there was that it was not 1 or 2 people who have made this work, but it was everyone who were there felt that we have made this together, and that is the best feeling that you can have when building up a brand like that. The brand is never stronger than the ownership of those who stand behind the brand. But now we will go in a little bit towards the next steps before we will let the talk begin between so we will just go further and look into. We made a destination management plan a couple of years ago. Maybe you should say something about that. What are the next steps, Maria?
Yes, we made a big destination management plan in English with a longer version with all from situation analysis onto action points and the future aims and so. We have made a shorter version in Icelandic, which has made it easier for the municipalities and different types of sectors and the government and so to work with. And we are always working on all these levels, international, national, regional, and local level, with different strategies that are under there and planning and so. This is as essential as well as the marketing framework, where we work with the companies and where we are showing support, and then as well communicating further to, for example, Inspired by Iceland, and how we have this dialogue ongoing, and where we follow a certain model, and that is helping us a lot to stay on track. And we are as well now just updating the DMP for which is until 2021, but we are still, it should be a live document that we are always updating, and so that is what we are working on now, and there might be some changes made since this year has been very unconventional for many parts. So that is what we're working on now, but we are still always having these strategic aims, the collaboration beyond borders, to keep to our roots, to focus on all seasons, and that is throughout all the projects as well. You know, for example, with the food that we are using from all seasons, and we are using the current season and showcasing the food from that season, and we are focusing on and working with product development, working now a lot with the winter, with the snow, the places that the ski areas here in Austurland, and we are constantly always just doing gap analysis and so, where we see where we need to do better and so. And this is our mantra: planning from what is happening versus planning from what we want to happen. That is so crucial, planning from what we want to happen. And this is our mantra, and where we go in and especially when we're working with developing bigger destinations, and so we need to do that.
Yes, sorry, I'm interrupting, but this
fine.
I think is one of the core elements of what has happened over the years. Of course, that we have created the collaboration around Destination Austurland, that we are now more in the region working together. There's also like how the emphasis on what we are doing is turning more into what we want to happen, because it's very common that you just work with something that is happening, and you just are reactive rather than proactive. And we have turned that around and say that, how do we want the development to look like, and how do we want the tourists to benefit the local society, and how we can think value before volume. What does that mean for us? I don't think we need to talk too much about this model, but it is a model. The Terra model is a model that we have tried to implement and work more good with. Like it's kind of a destination design model that we can tell more about for those who are interested. So just get in touch with us if you want to know more about that. But it's of course that we have more emphasis on destination management than before. Before we had more maybe focus on destination marketing
and sales, but we are forming a DMO, and everywhere in Iceland the DMO of each region will be formed next year. And Daniela, you can maybe tell a bit about, you were part of the pre-study, or you made the pre-study.
Jungersted stands for a destination organization. So we have kind of like just cut away the management, marketing, just word out from that, but it is still there, as the previous image said, that managing and development and marketing is part of it all. So this is very exciting how a land, I think it will be almost the first country in the world that is actually looking into building destination organizations, destination management organizations like this, for the whole region or for the whole country. and how that can turn out to something really, really exciting, how you can collaborate towards a more sustainable tourism and a responsible system around tourism. And that is what we try to do. Also, that I think we from Austurland try to we will not wait for anyone else too long. We just need to continue. We just need to change the system to be more working for ourselves rather than we are working for kind of a system that is we cannot be inefficient. And that is I think one learnings I have had from small destinations, not only from Austurland but from other destinations as well. When you come to small organizations, that I think it's quite common that smaller destinations, the rural destinations, need to think smarter than the big organizations, because we just need to work smarter in a way. So I think sometimes the small destination have more to teach large destinations than vice versa.
Exactly.
Would you say something about this?
I mean, the destination management plan is obviously an entryway to make it easier for as well the government to manage tourism, and I think the journey that we've gone through with all these, and we had this intention from start to make a destination management plan and to form a destination management organization. It's extremely important for the future, and now with these challenging times, it will be the key to the future and ongoing process. But we need to engage and to achieve more collaboration. We need to work with nudging and like shaking up things and just going around and connect to other industries as well. It is not only tourism; it is the value chain of tourism is so big and. We have before it had initiatives with both the Art Attack and the food festival.
I can tell a little bit about that. So we have actually learned, and that has been through an exchange with other Nordic destinations that we have learned about. Of course, we already have artists in residence, but here we bring in the chefs, and we have chefs in residence. That was a really exciting process and a way of nudging people to be part of the process of how we can lift up the food culture from Austurland. And food is something that everyone connects to. So it was a really, really good example of how we can work with nudging. This is other pictures from this art residencies that we have had. We have had dancers, we had photographers and artists and mural painters, graffiti painters, and that also come from other places in the world to the places in Austurland. Then we talk about to reach out to more sectors. That is maybe one of the next steps that you talk about, María. How we can be better in connecting to farmers, fisheries, also the small breweries that has popped up, and handicrafts and people from all areas that are also part of the destination. Not only people working with tourism, but everyone connecting to the local society is part of the Austurland story, and how we together can become better in telling those stories, and not only tell new stories, but tell the stories that we already have. So it's about to kind of like lift up the soul of the community. That is something we talk about very often. This is one of the new examples that we have made. We invited an artist to come and paint on the walls inside the welcoming points, the port, the harbor in Seyðisfjörður, and also the airport now soon in Hjálmarsdóttir. So this is kind of a story from Raun Flygenring that we invited to do this, how to paint the ferry hall.
This is of course part of the signage language that we want to present, and that we are showing at these important touch points the DNA of the place, and that you get a sense of place where you are. And so we collaborate with artists and so on, and in this case we collaborated with Raun, and which did an excellent job with working with the locals there, and did a big research on the place in Austurland, and was really gathering a lot of stories and so to work on, and it just turned out great. And now we're working using also with the airport in Hjálmarsdóttir, which is one of the other gateways to the area. And there we are working on the customer journey and going through, like, when you're coming to the airport, what is the first thing you see? What are you lacking? How are you feeling? How is the emotions and so? And as well for those that are, picking someone up, is there a special hug place? Where should the kids be? All these things. So we are actually working a lot with design thinking in our projects, and that is really giving the heart, like giving this extra thing, and that people connect much more to. And
I think important when you say design thinking is to bring in the creativity and innovation part, that we think we need to think new in a way. The last part we will just talk briefly about is, of course, the winter. That has been up in the talk to bring up more how we can promote the winter season. And of course, that is something that can be maybe more interesting right now, since the traveling is down. Icelanders cannot, maybe they will not in the same extent at least go to Italy this year. Maybe they can come to the Östfiskar Alpfjäll, that is to come to ski in Austurland even more. And the winter sceneries in Austurland is fantastic, and we can offer so much and great ski areas that we also talk about how they can start collaborating more than before. So who wouldn't like to come to these places and ski? And that is one of the things that we are looking into as an opportunity at the moment. But furthermore, Maria, you can just say very short. We will not have that much time.
I think we're out of time almost. But we've seen, last summer, all our partners that we're working with were a bit anxious to go into the summer, and that is understandable. And we had worked on a scenario analysis on what could happen. And so, but it turned out that Austurland was obviously a hotspot for the Icelandic traveler. And it was all hotels and so were almost fully booked, and some even more booked than when foreign tourists were here. You couldn't just go into a restaurant to have dinner. You had to order in advance and so. And there were just Icelandic travelers all over the place. And we saw a really big impact on our social media, and so much more, a lot of posting from travelers. And we saw, as we have seen, a huge increase in our Facebook page, Visit Austurland, where we are up to 18,000 now followers, which is quite good when we had 10,000 at the start of the year. So but we still have challenges, of course, for next year. But I think everyone had to adapt quickly. Everyone had to do some translating, and how is the Icelandic traveler? How can we adjust to that and so? But everyone did really good, and that is also the Icelandic way on Tataretas, and we'll do this and let's go. And we had meetings, a lot of meetings during the summer and in April, May and so, which was really successful. We had these talks with people and so. So we have a lot to learn from this summer, but it was a good indication on how next year's will be, and how we can as well attract more Icelanders to hiking and so. So it's a bright future.
So I think we will. It's great to hear, and then good to hear how the situation at least look kind of bright, even if it's really, really hard times now.
Just like on this photo.
Yeah, exactly. But we should go further to these challenges and opportunities. And before this talk, before we let in now the panel, or we will not call it a panel, we will have kind of a around the kitchen table talk. We said we have had a survey asking people in Austurland what are the topics that you would like us to talk about. So one of the topics we will talk about is how do we build back better once tourists returns. Next topic that we also would like to talk about is that what should be the future role of a destination organization such in Austurland, Österbro is having, and what role should a local community play in, I guess, within kind of tourism scene, and how to attract more guests to Austurland has also been up, of course. And also, what could you do now at this moment in time during the pandemics? What could we do for develop the destination, training and certifications opportunities? Some I have heard to have taken things on things like that. Make the administration more effective. That is maybe something that, as when you have a company, in a small company in the tourist business, you never have the time really to look on how you can make your own administration more effective. That could also be something to do at the moment, maybe. But these are just some examples. So I will just stop sharing the screen now and let Jonina and Ásta and so take over and help me to take it further.
Thank you. Thank you, María and Daniel. Ásta, Kristín, maybe we should talk about Slido.
Yeah. We are getting in questions there, but we would love to have more questions. The link to the Slido questions are under the Facebook event. So the people that are watching us on Facebook Live, they can go directly to the link there, and it's super easy. And it would be so nice to have you interactive while we are here talking. So we feel that you are sitting around the kitchen table with us as well.
Yes, both put questions in and also vote for the question you want to have answered. And now, before we move on to the kitchen table, I would like to offer you all to introduce yourselves in about maybe 30 seconds. So we will start with Chris.
Hello, Austurland. Hello, Iceland. Hello, the rest of the world tuning in. I'm here in my COVID-19 garden room in Gothenburg, Sweden. And I just want to thank you for opening up your doors in Austurland to have a conversation. I'm the dreamer. I'm often teased for looking so far down the path, nobody can imagine it. So I like to work in 50-year chunks. But don't get me wrong, I'm also a pragmatist, and I like to roll up the sleeves.
Okay, Milena.
Thank you. I get my inspiration from curiosity into human beings and human behavior. So I hope that today I'll add to the creative juices that are circulating around the kitchen table with my knowledge about how people are likely to behave as a result of this crisis and how that will make the mix of the ingredients that make the magic of tourism different.
Thank you. Signe.
Hi everyone, I'm Signe, calling in from Copenhagen. I'm the destination nerd. I'm just the everything nerd really, I think, but in this case, destinations. And yes, well, I love a good tourism discussion because it's always so much more than tourism, and that's basically my approach to working in this field is how can we make tourism more, and more importantly, how can we make tourism work to achieve more for local communities, societies, and everything else that we want to have. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Bård.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bård from Norway. I'm in my office right now. I've been working with tourism development in Norway for nearly 25 years, but been also in the industry some years. So I'm called the grandfather because I've been into this for 40 years now. In my daily work, I'm working with destination and tourism development all over Norway. Been doing that for a long time, and also working with innovation. I'm managing a cluster in northern Norway, so I'm doing some of the same work as Ásta is doing with her cluster. And I would like to share my experiences, because what we do in Norway these days as well is to look for the future and find out how should we bring tourism back in a better way. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Ásta, Kristín, you would like to grab a few seconds?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, like has been told, my name is Ásta Kristín and I manage the Iceland tourism cluster. My nickname, and I got to choose my one as well, was the nature lover. I was brought up, born and raised in Austurland. So if you don't like nature, you should get out of there. And I also like people, and I like to be around people that inspire me. And this group really has inspired me, and I know that they will inspire more. I also like to work with a group of people that is curious and wants to be innovative and create more value for their businesses. So more or less my whole working life, I have been working on innovation and value creation. So this has been a really tough year, and I'm hoping that we can together, help people at the right path to the future with this talk, maybe the beginning.
Okay, and Daniel.
Yes, I am the designer, and I am referred to in this group as the fearless. I love that. I got the fearless country boy first, but I just decided to go with the fearless. I don't know, it was just left to me, but I like it, and I will go with that and try to take that role. Yeah, that's me. I just want to start to talk in the panel.
Okay, so I think maybe we should start by addressing the questions and the thoughts and the concerns that came from our survey. So we should just start at the beginning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How do we build back better once tourism returns?
It's a big question. I know we have a lot of people here that could answer that. If I would just start to open, I think it is just, for me, it is tourism always have had a backside. Tourism is something that is, of course, really important part of the economy, both for Iceland and for many countries in the world. But what I think, we talked about that in the group, for example, that we need to go from extraction to contribution when it comes to tourism. Someone else who has something to say about it?
One quick thought, Daniel. First, I'd like to take off my Iceland cap and say, amazing work in Austurland. And I'm not sending a platitude to you. Daniel and I first connected as a result of Austurland, and the work being done there is just incredible. And it's pretty far down the maturation level, and a lot of other destinations can learn from you. So I just wanted to start there. So build back better. You're doing an amazing job already, and it's evolutionary, as María said. So we're here to try to help. If you think there's value we can help bring to this.
I would say one thing though, is that right now there's a lot of discussions going on like how better looks like, and what where should we go to build back better, and I think in that discussion we're perhaps forgetting a little bit that it's not necessarily an end destination, but it's also the journey. So it's the process of building back better that is equally important, because it will in the end sort of define where you end up, I think, as well. So for me, one very important part of building back better is asking your local community what better looks like, rather than the experts.
Signe, I want to build on that, because as we already heard, sometimes just the framing that we use as our starting point can matter hugely. And I think that we now have the opportunity to actually leave the back, what we had in the past back, and try to build forward better, and sort of free ourselves from what were the models in the past, and try to open up to completely new, creative, innovative solutions that start from the dream of what we want this to be. As the present during the introduction, Daniel and Maria mentioned, we have time now We may not have many other things, but that gives us the freedom to really look at a completely different future and just forget some of the, not let the models from the past limit us, is what I meant.
Milena, because you are always thinking about the behavioral part of people, not only travelers, but people in general, though tourism is maybe a heavy thing to think about. But what do you think? I mean, how will the behavior, what do you think will change the most in the behavioral thing that we can plan for now to use this time as well as we can? And maybe not only the tourists themselves, but also like, how can we now work better together within the local community? Because there is one question, and I think that Bård could also jump into this one after you. How can we get the locals on board destination development?
So I think that there's definitely the transition and the disruption is so significant that all of us are departing from the models that we used to. But unless we actually give ourselves a push to adjust or to go into new frameworks and new habits, there is always the risk of going back and sliding into what felt comfortable. So I think that we have conditions, people are moved from the models that they were comfortable in. So now there's an opportunity to actually slightly help them go into the ones that we actually want them to fall. And that applies to businesses, it applies to travelers, it also applies to policymakers, if you will, those who actually set the big picture frameworks. So I think that's where we have a chance to be active now, to prevent the older behaviors from coming back, because everybody now is in a state of readiness to do something new, to learn something new, and to do things differently. So we have the right setting to move people to new models. And that's why I think that this situation can be viewed as a great opportunity. If we never had that crisis, we all would have discussed how we wish things to change, but we would have kept focusing on running business as usual, while now we actually have the opportunity because business as usual is stopped. And so if all of us focus on changing the design, then we actually will make progress towards the future that we want.
To follow up, Milena, one of the discussions in Norway now is about using the United Nations sustainability goals as a tool for some of the things that Milena just talked about, because they are in Norway now, they will be implemented on a local level, in local planning, they will be implemented on a regional and a national level, also be part of the political discussions about how do we form and create our own future. And there is at least 7 or 8 of those goals that apply for tourism development as well. And I think that sometimes it's difficult with tourism that we have within our business some kind of our own language and our own understanding of what the world looks like and who should be, be partners in the development. But sometimes we are locked in our own bubble about this. And I think that United Nations sustainability goals, it locks up some opportunities also for these needed conversations and processes with the surrounding, the local communities, other businesses, other sectors that you talked about for Austurland. So I think that that's one interesting approach. If we talk about what should the future look like when we have built it back better, I think that it has to align with these sustainability goals, because that's where the rest of the society is going.
Bård, at this time, it's also a really pivotal moment to understand that the SDGs, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council criteria, baseline criteria for sustainability are key, but pushing the group into a 50-year vision, what do we want to see in the end? We're going to ultimately have to leapfrog baseline sustainability standards so the community in Austurland could, during this downtime, start having more discussions about aligning for that future. How as a community can we not only acknowledge the SDGs and these baseline standards, but maybe go beyond it? Because already some of that activity is happening, and they should take credit. Austurland, you should take credit for the incredible work you're doing and go the next step.
Thank you. Can I follow up on this a bit? There is a lot of opportunities now for the municipalities and the regional level, and so to opt in and to work together and to make this space for entrepreneurs to have this access to the tools and so. And I think what we see now is that the government is putting money into roads and, like, you know, what is it called, like that things, or just like roads and bridges and so infrastructure. Yeah. But we also need to put power into the school systems, and we need to take care that the kids understand the value of their destination. And that has also been one of the goals we have had in Destination Austurland, is to teach the kids on what the Austurland stands for and what we are. And so, but I think the very important thing is we need to reach out to people that maybe have some ideas, that want to go and do something, because this is the time to do that. And we need to step up our game, and as well the municipalities and the government as well. It is very crucial with roads and infrastructure, but the manpower and the ideas, and so that is much more important, I think. But we need to help people to put the ideas somewhere, and we need to help people to develop them, and so. And when we have done all this work with Austurland and all these tools, and so, that could be we maybe have an easier time to do so. But we need to reach out, and we need to gather the power of all these levels that I showed before, the regional, the national, and the local level. We need to go together now. This is the moment.
Mm-hmm. We've also been talking about this win-win-win, which Bård was talking about the other day. It needs to be a win for the local community. It needs to be a win for the business owners, but it also needs to be a win for the guests that are coming. And people were talking about a lot of different things beneath each and every statement of that. Do you want to comment, anyone, on that?
For me, it is like all of that is something we have had in mind for all the time in Austurland, at least, but we just need to get more understanding what that means. When we talk about a win for the guests and win for the locals, we just need to be more specific. And I think that when you talk about the locals, it is just like you're talking about tourists as like one big group, and then locals as one big group. But you don't really think about that locals as we are also tourists, and we refer to like different roles, and especially in small societies, we have a lot of different roles in the same, kind of character like that. But it's like, for me, when we talk about locals, I would like to address, like María was talking about the kids, for example, how important it is to build a happy childhood, to be able to be proud of your place and the region, and tell good stories, and how that should be an emphasis, that tourism is one part of many other industries, how we can benefit as a local society, and how we can build up good schools and good environment and take care of our society. And then we just need to become better in measuring success in other ways than we used to do. And that is what we see also in international levels now from countries, that you look into alternatives from GDP and so. Then when we talk about tourists, I actually try to avoid talking about tourists as a group. I prefer to talk about guests, that you talk about here as well. Because as soon as you go from tourists or visitors or consumers, but then talk about guests instead, it comes with a promise. It comes with something that I am your guest, you are mine guest, And that is always something that is a respect in between that. It's something that I don't go anywhere and then just extract what I can do, what I can from that place if I am a guest in that sense. I mean, it's always kind of a respectful, like hospitality and hostmanship around the guest concept. And that is part of the win, I think, to be able to think about how and who we are talking about in more specific terms. Yeah, Bård, maybe you will say something.
Yeah, because this is some of the discussion we have had, and some of the discussion that that Signe also has brought on the table, is that when tourism exceeds some sizes, when it grows very fast like it did before the COVID, it's sometimes the win situation is that yes, the upside for the businesses grows, but the pain side for the local communities is something about the management of the destination. So we could see some places where it tips that the local satisfaction with tourism grows, it goes down instead of up. It doesn't follow the growth of tourism itself. So there is something about being prepared now when we talk about build back better. We need to, if tourism is coming back, it's going to be different. But anyway, it needs to be prepared for, so we can keep up this win-win-win aspect and not let the same thing happen again. That the win is primarily something that happens for the businesses, and then the local society comes next, and maybe also the environment comes next. I think that's one of the big issues for building back better.
I agree. Just following up on that, I think in many ways this is like the ultimate litmus test, you know, and we've talked about this before as well. Like before COVID-19 and the issues of the rising awareness of the negative impact of tourism, and in some places issues of over-tourism, and a lot of destinations have been out and saying, oh, it's really important to us what the locals think, and we need to find that balance, and it's difficult to scale back, but we're trying to do whatever we can. And now there's like that moment of opportunity, and so, but it's also a moment of proving your worth and proving your relevance and actually putting weight behind those words. And it's difficult, I mean, for industry, and they're bleeding, but I do think a lot of DMOs and a lot of destinations actually do have that surplus ability to look further ahead and maybe push towards that. But I think now is the time to also prove that the locals and the local community and that balance and planning ahead towards it, because the success of tourism cannot come as a surprise in 3 years. And as you're saying, Bård, it's not going to be chronological, so that first we get tourism back, then we start talking to locals, and then we talk about sustainability. It needs to be holistic from the get-go.
Maybe María, you could address some questions.
Yeah, there are many great questions coming up on Slido. What has happened? One here. What has to happen so that Egilsstaðir Airport can start scheduled flights? Is there an opportunity with COVID for Egilsstaðir Airport? That is a good question. Egilsstaðir International Airport is ready to have international flights today. It's a great airport, but of course, with all the restrictions and the situation in the whole world, we are in a challenging place. But we have still gone into the dialogue with both tour operators, and so to look into like a COVID-free trips when this is all getting better. We are the region with the least, or very few COVID cases. I think 3 or so got COVID here. It's very few, but anyway, we have in the previous years worked a lot with the development of Egilsstaðir Airport. Now we are working much more with Isavia, and we are working a lot with North Iceland as well, which is really great. And we can maybe focus on different markets and so, but work together, and that is extremely important. we are always in ongoing dialogue. There is a route development fund for both tour operators and airlines that would like to fly in to Egilsstaðir, and we are, working on that all the time. And it is just small steps all the time. We also need to just work a lot with keeping the airport open with domestic flights. I mean, we are also struggling with domestic flights. There are fewer and fewer people flying. That is because of course, cost. But now in COVID, there's even less flights. So that is the most important thing, of course, that the airport is operating and fully functioning. But I think within few years, we will see direct flights from Europe to Egilsstaðir Airport. We just need to be patient, and it's it can take many years, but we need to believe in it and don't get our hopes up that and just be realistic. I think. I mean, we are 10,000, so the market, the catchment area here is not that big, but we can just as well be the starting point of your journey to Iceland as Keflavik can be. So that is also the selling point we're working with. And I can see there's also another question with how we're dealing with being so far away from Reykjavik and the flight. And so I think we always are looking at this as a strength.
It should be, you should actually, turn that around. You should ask Reykjavik how they could cope with being so far away from Egilsstaðir.
Exactly. I think it's a strength, and the fact that you can land here in an international airport and be on the ring road in 2 minutes and the countryside is great. And it's also my most beautiful airport, I think, in Iceland. but anyway, I mean, we have so many opportunities and strong sectors as well in Austurland, and it's also important to say that we are working with other sectors here on direct flights. So we need to just keep being positive on that.
I would like to, sorry, Bård, you go.
I just saw a big survey from TripAdvisor, and they were looking at what people are looking for when they are able to travel again. And they say that there is a difference now, because people are looking at smaller places with space. They are looking at places where they can come closer to the local societies, like Austurland. So that's an interesting aspect about the future of tourism, because they said that people will not go back to Venice or Barcelona or Paris, because it is also related to the post-COVID situation. But anyway, it's a shift where they can see that people is more looking at the kind of destinations that Austurland is. And that's interesting also when we talk about how will tourism get rolling again, and what will be the difference.
Bård, just jumping on that quickly, and then I'm going to pitch it directly to Milena. Also, the movement towards remote working and staying longer in destinations when you're there, it's going to give destinations like Austurland an opportunity at the same time as the guests having the opportunity to spend more time together. And so Austurland is going to have its ability to attract the type of people it might want to come there by, saying, hey, we want a big community of architects or alternative energy folks and such, and put the word out. You might get interesting industries like that coming to spend more time with you. Milena, you were addressing some of this in some communications earlier today.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking. One of the trends that we started seeing before the crisis, but I feel that the crisis has actually accelerated, is this awareness on the importance of human well-being. And part of that is, of course, the physical well-being and the new awareness on health and safety, but it's also partly related to this pursuit of happiness. We know that one of the failures of contemporary society is in the happiness domain. So we, being in the tourism industry, which is really one of the main happiness industries out there, we have almost a mission to contemporary society to to accelerate this return to human well-being by designing and offering experiences that, of course, align with the physical health and the needs of the physical health, but also the spiritual rejuvenation. And Austurland certainly has all the ingredients in place in order to pick up that and be a leader in something in this mission, and actually use that as a way to really stand out in this new context. So to me, that's a great opportunity, one of the positive aspects of the current situation.
And Milena, you just have a direct question from Slido to you, so I'm just going to give you the word straight away.
Thank you.
How can we nudge businesses rather than travelers or guests then to engage in sustainable businesses practices? How can we build these bridges more?
Brilliant. That's a fantastic question. And the theory or the type of thinking that I usually use when I talk about using behavior smart approaches, or considering how people think and behave, and use that to optimize sustainability. I talk about making sustainability a non-negotiable principle in the way that we do business. And the difference there, and that relates to some of the previous discussions that we had about win-win-win. The difference from the past models is that you actually give control to the decision about what's right for our destination to the local community and local businesses. So I will continue being a great bed and breakfast keeper and being extremely hospitable and caring, but I will also not serve any food that's not from within 100 miles of my bed and breakfast. That's the non-negotiable condition that I'm weaving into the experience that I'm offering. So I'm not jeopardizing the quality in any case. No, I am just saying that I'm going to adhere to these principles as part of the way that I'm doing business. So to me, destinations and businesses respectively now have the opportunity to take more control over these decisions. We almost have the crisis as an excuse, and just make it part of the non-negotiable pillars of what we offer.
It's like a manifest or something between.
Exactly, just make it a principle of how we work. And that's not going to jeopardize or make the experience less attractive. On the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that from the pandemics that it is a lot of really bad things around the pandemics, but one of the things that is it's a perfect example of how interconnected we all are. And I think that is something that people have somehow in these times felt some kind of you kind of joining the same kind of feeling around the pandemics, no matter where you live in the world. And you stand together and say that, hey, we just need to do something together around not only this, but also other issues that we have out there. And that is one thing. And I also like how we are open more for trying new ways forward. Maybe we can see when we kind of like stop for a while and you look back, you can see what was not the best ways of doing things. It is kind of like when you stop and just look at yourself for a while, if you can take that, look at yourself from outside perspective, you can see that, hey, this is something I could change. And I think those times are now where we can, all of us jointly go in there and say it. And it's also that the competition you can see otherwise between companies and between regions, between destinations, and so you can feel more like collaboration, a feeling of collaboration. And that is, I hope, for example, this talk with our future talk could also help with that we can like build a better community around all of these questions, to share knowledge around everything. Yeah. Okay. Awkward silence.
That never happens in this group.
No. We have a few questions in Slido. There was
We have
one
many.
here. We have many. Which are the 3 intimate and 3 midterm steps that destinations need to make now to build back better? So, do we have a roadmap to share or recommend? Who wants to jump in?
Well, I can start. One thing that I would say is that I think we need to. I mean, of course, there are short-term, or it says immediate steps, right? So there are a number of immediate steps that you do see a lot of destinations going. That is, for one, reorienting towards a more local, both local conversation on the future, but also just a local audience, engaging locals to consume locally and so on. There's loads of initiatives in that direction, which are important also just to stay afloat. I think World Bank has a pretty good model actually that's like immediate steps, midterm and longer term steps. That are sort of the overall ideas of that. But I also would challenge the idea of setting a roadmap at the moment. Like you can have a roadmap, but I do kind of like the, I think it's McKinsey that has this approach where they say it's not so much about making the strategy that will sort of tell, but it's, of course you can set the strategy as long as it's towards a vision, but that step by step, then we have to do, and then we have to do, and then we'll end up in a good place, is probably more of a muscle approach. That's what McKinsey is saying. So it's training that muscle to adapt and to grasp the opportunities. And that's what I mean, we keep talking about engaging with local communities and having that conversation, but that's also a muscle that you need to train, because it's not just a one-off and then you're all set, check on your roadmap, you can go to the next step. You know, it's an ongoing exercise, and it's going into that I hate the buzzword of agility, but you have to go into that agile gym to train that muscle and understand, because this is not a one-off. And I mean, we're in COVID-19 now. Chances are we'll have a COVID 2021, 22, 23, 24 in the coming years. Sorry. Merry Christmas.
True though.
Can I comment on that?
But then we also have climate crisis, and we have multiple situations and waves of crisis. It's a hybrid crisis that we need to start preparing for, and there's no roadmap that will get you through it unless you actually start adapting to that way of working. So
building on that, one quick thing is there's a quote from a futurist that we had at the Adventure Travel World Summit, and Thornton May said, "Your network will keep you safe." And in the feedback on the survey we got, one of the folks from Austurland said something to the effect, "A strong tourism leads to a strong community." And I would challenge that and say, actually, a strong community actually can affect the other. And right now is the time for your community just to continue supporting one another, build the network. That's what we're doing with this group that we're contributing feedback. We've been talking for the last 5 months or so about all sorts of different topics, and we resulted in an idea like this. So we can keep doing things like this, and all of you can too.
Can I comment on this? Because I think I agree with Signe. It's about, one thing is for sure, you have to train your ability to cope with changes in the future. And we know that tourism at the moment will come back, but it'll be different. There will be a new normal, and we don't really know what that normal will be. And maybe that new normal will also change over the next coming year. So this ability to cope with changes, you need to train on. You need to have focus on that. And the other thing I want to say is that you can start by asking this question: what do we want to happen again when tourism comes back, and what do we not want to happen again? So you can identify the places or things that you want to improve or change or build back better by asking you these two simple questions. What do we not want to happen again when tourism comes back? And the other way, what do we really want to happen again?
And also, what have we missed and what haven't we missed? I mean, it's been a unique period of having to go without something. So what did we not miss in that time period?
I think this is also very interesting when we talk about what, like for example, Österbro has as a function in a region as in Österland. and how you can see also during these times. I have, and all of us are in contact with destinations all over the world. And you see some destinations have been so much focused on building up a destination marketing organization that is only focusing on marketing and nothing on development and management in that, in that way, at least that Österbro is doing, as we have been explaining here. And as I feel now is that those who have before tried and put emphasis on building up a function for destination management and not only looking into like marketing towards tourism, but actually working towards developing because of the own purpose and the own benefit for residents and so, have much more of a purpose also now as a function also now during the pandemics. Those who have kind of like only, it is no one that is only focusing on marketing, but those who are mostly focusing on marketing are kind of like very confused. Like, what are we doing now? What should we do now? And what is happening? But I think that is kind of like, we should continue with that, and we should emphasize even more on these kind of like, as I talk about, design thinking methodology, that is not about building master plans, how we will develop this area for tourism, but you should all the time just monitor, do something, measure the effects, monitor, and have also look into what are what are you measuring? What is the success, the indicators that you are looking for within success, and that is one of the core elements on where you go and when you're measuring like how resilient you are as a region and destination.
I think also we have a breathing space now to look inwards and to learn to love what you have and learn to want what you have and to be good at that, and to look at the experience and all the senses, and are you really fulfilling those, and how can simplify and connect better to the location, the place, and so I think that is just the one simple thing that can be very good, and that is often when everything is on going on, and you're both changing the sheets, and you're doing the bookkeeping, and you're doing the cleaning of the tables, and all these things, you never have the time to think about that and about the DNA of you and your place. And so, because we have so many great people working in tourism here that has their entire soul and so into this, and what I got afraid of personally is that everything would be changed. So like it would be bought up, and so it would be just one big chain owning all the small guest houses, and so then we will lose this charm of the hosts. And so we need to look inwards as well, and measure and see where we can as well. Of course we need earning, but simplify and be good at what you have, and not always try to find other things as well to add on to, unless you have the capacity to do so.
But also, I think that's so important to have as a pretty open discussion in terms of your DNA and the values of the community that you represent. And I think we had a question regarding the cruise industry, and I think there's a really interesting example right now from Key West, Florida, which is a very, very popular cruise destination, and they just passed 3 referendums by popular vote to limit the visitors from bigger cruise ships, and the whole initiation of that of those 3 referendums comes from local population. I think it's like two brothers or something. And they made these suggestions out of environmental and health concerns. So in the absence of tourism, they've come to realize a difference, or at least they experience or they perceive a difference. And so based on that, they've now initiated this, and it was voted through, and there will be legal action in the afterterm and all that I don't know anything about. But I think it's quite interesting, because it does show that as professionals and as an industry, we can discuss this, but unless we actually manage to also reflect it into the values of our local communities, in the end, the local community will let us know what their values are. And that's what's happening in many ways in Key West right now, which is, I just think it's very interesting. And adding to that, and then I would be interested in hearing what the rest of you think. Adding to that, what I do think has been really interesting throughout this period is that rise of almost like a deliberative democracy approach to tourism. So much more focus on opening up those conversations, and I mean more of those like citizen participatory institutions and strategy processes like Innovation Norway, where you open up and you invite input. And there's been loads of examples of that. So that's something that I would hope would sort of integrate even deeper into how we plan tourism, because we are an industry, but tourism is also just something that happens in our backyard and down by our street. And, you know, we are selling places where people live. and that comes with a certain responsibility.
Absolutely. And there was a question about this topic. What would be the most practical and best collaboration with companies or locals that you could recommend for a DMO? I mean, has this changed? Are we looking into deeper conversations now, like you were just saying, Signe? You know, are we more open for the discussion? And I think so, personally, that we really have found our way back to the core of why we are doing this. I mean, we have been running around growing so fast. I mean, of course, differently in regions and so on, but everyone has been growing and growing fast from a 0 point somewhere, you know. So maybe we didn't have all the platforms ready, and this is a time to sit down and really decide, okay, we need to talk about this. This is what matters to all of us, whether if it's cruise ships coming in here or there, or whether it's just you know, typical businesses going on. So I think this will be a different, and Austurland has to adapt to that maybe in another way, making it more open, like you have been doing now since the pandemic. You have been offering a lot of more open meetings and so on. And I think that every region should think about that as well. How to bring that.
I think it would be nice to have, as I was also talking before, the design thinking. And when we from Austurland, now I said we from Austurland, I'm part of Austurland, but it's kind of like we don't always have the kind of like the obvious role in all of this, because it's a lot of different stakeholders. You have the companies, you have the municipalities, you have the tourist board and different. And where does destination organization come in? It is always this talk about how a destination organization can even exist, because who is funding it? You know, is it funded? Now we are talking about, is it funded by the industry, or can the government, you know, what is it important for the government to have destination organizations, and what mandate do you have as a destination organization? I think all of that is really, really important to address, because what we can do, and that is also important, that we are not looking to destination organizations that are already only there just because. We always need to have a purpose, and it is important to say, what are we bringing to the table when we talk something about something like the cruise ship industry, or we're developing a new area for tourism, or, you know, monitoring things. We just need to be more open and say that we don't know the answer, but we have the tools in having, you know, try to investigate different opportunities, because it's never only one answer. We just need to be more like, as a designer, just looking into, okay, what happens if we do like this, or like that, or like that, or like that, and then kind of like comparing different ways forward and understanding the preconditions and the different ways forward, and then the challenges we have. And that is how we all together can bring everyone, all different disciplines and people around the table, and do this kind of design processes together, because it's not a one-man job. Nothing is a one-man job. It is something that we just need to collaborate around. And I think that is really important, that we as destination organization is given that kind of mandate, and how we can, and that is always like complex situations depending on where you're working with the destination. and how that looks like, but how you can get that up and function. I think that is really important.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because there was one question directly towards the cruise industry, and I think that Norway is a big destination for cruise as well, and I think that it's very difficult to say. It's very heavily affected by the crisis, the tourism industry. It's very difficult to know in what shape, in when it will be back, and if it ever is going to be back the way it used to be. It's very, very difficult to give a precise answer to that. But and regarding what Daniel says, in Norway as well, the highest temperature between what these, like, and like you said, Signe, from the example from Key West, it's the same. They had discussion they have in Bergen about limitations, because this is the topic that creates most temperature in the debates about what do the locals want and what do the business community want with tourism.
Thank you, Bård. Chris, you had one question there. Maybe you would like to give us a 30-second answer, because the meeting is about to, we're closing in our time.
You will have the end word here, so it must be something really, really good now.
Really profound, right? I can't see the question, so you'll
future traveler. Yeah, who
Your
is
thoughts on that?
Yeah, who will be the future traveler?
Oh boy.
No pressure.
Yeah, that's simply not an easy one. I would go to the statement that you all were talking about earlier, is what do we want to see? So rather than just address who is the future traveler, who is the future traveler we want to see? Somebody who doesn't, travelers of the future, they don't have a right to travel and to visit your location. They have an opportunity. It's a privilege to come and visit your community or any place on the planet. And I think kind of the new formula, our chance to create a renaissance of future travelers, is centered around self-responsibility and respect for local communities everywhere we travel. We must be more responsible. And all of the folks from the community of Austurland, everybody on this call, our friends who are on the call from Rwanda and Argentina, all over, we must push a renaissance of new thinking of what each and every one of us carries as responsibility to walk this earth. We should all spend more time in humanitarian reflectiveness when we go. What is our personal impact on those communities? And how can we move individuals toward a more net positive framework? So it's dreamland, of course, and it's going to take a generation, but we can get there.
Thank you. You just closed in 29 seconds. Daniel and Chris, now I'm going to give you the word for some closing words of our future.
Daniel, you're going to jump in.
He's on mute.
Sorry, I was just talking in there. I was like, I said that I could just continue this all day long until tomorrow, because it's so interesting. I really like this concept, and I really would like to thank you all to who have participated, both listening to us and in this group that you have been listening to. What we think about our future and our future after COVID, we think that we will continue with this both now and after. Now, of course, in digital formats, we will travel the globe and do this from different places. After COVID, we don't know what will happen, but we imagine that this will be something that we can do also, like in presence on different places. Maybe next year we will be in Österland, all of us, and do something and a big workshop. I think that is very much needed to do more of this talking and dialogues, but also the kind of like workshopping that we used to do, and then how we bring things forward. And by saying that, I would just want to say that we have actually one more Our Future talk already planned. So welcome next time to Rwanda in Africa. Maybe you can say something about that, Chris, since you are the one that have this contact.
Sure. I was imagining today during my forest walk the visual, and I was thinking about Google Earth, where basically we can come in and zero in on different destinations around the planet and hear from the locals and reflect, hold up a looking glass to the communities that we're visiting and respond to the local challenges, the dilemmas you have, the opportunities, and so on. So that's kind of the spirit behind this. Greg Bakunzi, who is the CEO and founder of Red Rocks Initiative, and who is incredibly focused on community-based tourism, sustainable tourism development, has agreed to collaborate with us and do our future in Rwanda. And so he's going to be our on-the-ground champion there. And so we're looking forward to developing that over the coming weeks. But Greg, if you're listening, thanks for jumping in with us. It'll be a lot of fun.
Great.
Okay, there is the
Okay.
unmute. So this was the final word. So I really like this kind of like we have a cliffhanger here. We will just all of you who has been listening to us today are of course welcome to join the next Our Future talk. And after we have done this in Rwanda, we might go to Greece, we might go to Greenland, we might go to different places in the world, and we kind of building up a community, a worldwide community around this, and this is really, really exciting, we think. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. I really need to dash actually, so
just one practical thing in the end, because we have so much questions that we didn't have the time to address properly. So we will put it all in the event page afterwards. So we will talk together on how we want to answer them, so everyone can see
you
them.
can still also put more questions there.
Yeah.
I think
it's open.
Just put more questions, and we will take care of the questions and see what we can do to answers, and then bring that further within Austurland.
Great.
Excellent. So we're 2 minutes over time. I think we're going to
well done.
Closing. Austurland thanks you. All the best from Austurland. We would like to thank you all for coming. Nice to see you. Have a good
Merry
day.
Christmas.
And
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.